Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jose, but you can call me Juice, and I hope y'all are having a great motherfucking planty day. So today we're going to be looking at all of my plants that are on moss poles. So if that's something you would like to see, please make sure to stick around. And if you didn't already know, I be uploading plant content here every Wednesday and Friday. So if you be looking for that, I got you. And maybe you want to go ahead and check out my other videos. And if you already have, you should definitely think about clicking that subscribe button down there. Also, don't forget to leave a like or a comment because it would really help my channel out and I'd also really appreciate it. Anyways, I'm sure y'all just want to see the plants, so let's get right into it. Alright, so the first plant I'm going to be showing y'all is my rhaphidophora tetrasperma, and she is doing really well. So I put this girly on this moss pole in a video not that long ago. I'll make sure to put the card up in case you want to check that out. But yeah, she has been loving the moss pole. As y'all can see, she is literally climbing up her really well. She's like glued to the side of it. But this was one of my first plants that like actually interacted with the moss pole, because I put my monstera on a moss pole and she literally did nothing. But that was partly my fault because I wasn't keeping it moist. But with these new moss poles I've been making, I've been really trying to make an effort to keep them moist so that the roots can actually like grow into the substrate. And so far it is working really well, and I'm just super excited for this girly to keep on maturing. I just can't wait until I get some big leaves. Also have more fenestrations because she's been growing and getting bigger, but like, at least on this side, she only has like one fenestration. I'm like, where's the rest though? Even her last leaf literally has no fenestration, so I don't know what's going on this side. Maybe I let it dry out a little bit too much. She's actually not rooted into the moss pole yet up here. But regardless, I'm still super proud of her and just happy that she is even attached to the moss pole in general. Even these smaller parts down here are starting to attach. I'll make sure to put some close-ups of all like the aerial roots and stuff, because I don't know how well I'm gonna be able to show you all that with the camera right here, but yeah, she's looking really well. And I'm sure you guys always see her in the background of my videos, chilling in the corner right here. When I first found this plant, it was literally only $7 because it was dying in the store. And now look at her. She's a big, beautiful mama plant. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, next up is my monstera adansonii, and I actually just put this girl on this moss pole a couple days ago, aka my last video. But basically, even though I have just put her on here, she is already seeming like she's getting ready to attach, because this main stem right here used to be like curved or whatever, curved in a weird way, but ever since I put her on the moss pole and tied her up, she has started to straighten out, as I'm sure y'all can see. So I hope that means she's gonna have a pretty easy time attaching to the moss pole. She even has some new growth coming out over here, so that's really nice to see. And so far, all of the other little propagations that I potted around the other sides of the moss pole are doing really good. So yeah, I'm just super excited for the future of this plant. I know I bring this up every time I talk about my monstera adansonii, but if y'all watch Becca de la Plants, you would know that she has a really big monstera adansonii, and it's literally gold. So hopefully I can have something like that someday, or at least something similar, but this is my start to that, and I'm proud of the progress she's already made, and I'm super excited to see how much more progress she's gonna make. And also with this moss pole, I mixed it with moss and bark chip. I've seen people make bark chip poles before, and I wanted to mix moss and bark chip together because I like the idea of the bark chips, but I also want the pole to be able to stay moist. So I just kind of like put the two ideas together and made it the best of both worlds. I don't know if it's really gonna make that much of a difference than my other moss poles that don't have bark chips in it, but I just thought it'd be something fun to try out. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and stop rambling and let's go ahead and move on. All right, so this next plant we're gonna be talking about, I don't wanna move because the moss pole is actually pretty unstable, and also it's just like a really big hassle to move her, so y'all are just gonna get some video clips. But basically, I say all that to introduce y'all to my philodendron burle Marx. Some of y'all already know who she is, but if you don't, this is what she's looking like. So basically, I used to have this girly on a moss wall that I actually made in a video, but I wasn't able to keep the moss wall moist enough. So the roots never actually like rooted into the moss wall. I ended up tearing down the moss wall and turning it into a moss pole instead. And ever since I did that, she is already starting to root into the moss pole. So I already know this is going way better than the moss wall. And I'm just super excited to see how much she's gonna grow now, because she's already pretty big, as y'all can see. So I'm just excited for her to get even bigger and even taller, and just to get some huge leaves, because that's the reason we be putting our plants on moss poles, right? I'm really proud of this plant and proud of how much she has come. I've literally got this plant as one single cutting. She really has come so far, but now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next plant. So next up, we're gonna be talking about my pink princess philodendron. And y'all, I'm in love with her so much right now. She is putting out these new leaves over here. She's actually growing from 2 new stems. So I'm super excited for those to keep growing out. But this plant actually isn't even attached to the moss pole at all. Yeah, so I don't know if like her aerial roots are like already spent on like this main stalk right here, but none of them have reached for the moss pole at all, even when I'm keeping it moist for her. So that's another reason why I'm super excited for this new growth to be coming in, because I feel like this new growth is gonna have an easier time attaching to the moss pole. She even has a little growth point that activated up here on this leaf. I don't know if y'all are gonna be able to see it. I'll probably put a close-up again. But yeah, so she possibly has a 3rd stem on the way. So I'm just super happy that she's like filling herself out for me. Like, I don't have to take any cuttings or anything. So that's super lucky. Yeah, I'm just happy that this plant is growing for me again, because for a while she wasn't doing anything, because I actually did chop her up here. And this is another plant that I'm definitely excited to see the future of, because can y'all just imagine some big leaves with this pink variegation? That would be amazing. So wish me luck, y'all, and hopefully she will attach to this moss pole soon. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next plant. All right, so the next plant we're gonna be talking about is my philodendron camposportoanum. And y'all, I'm happy to say that she is doing really good these days. Here is her newest leaf that she just put out. It's looking really good. And this was the last leaf, which was honestly her biggest leaf that she's ever grown for me. So I think that means we're on the right track. If y'all didn't know, these philodendron can mature to a really cool leaf shape. I'll put it up on the screen if I remember to. So these are just the juvenile leaves, but they're still really pretty. Like, they almost look like a green micans. They kind of have like an orange tinge to it, as you can see. Is tinge a word? But as y'all can see, she has one big fuzzy root already going right into the moss pole right there. And then on the other side, she also has another fuzzy root going right into the moss pole. So I'm super proud of this plant, and I'm super excited to see how much more she's gonna grow. I'm sure it's gonna be a ton. Also, I think I forgot to mention that this plant lives in my greenhouse box, and I think all the other plants that I'm showing you in this video live in my greenhouse box. But that's why she's on just like this little baby moss pole, because if it was any taller, it would be too tall. Even though I have to start it this small, it is way easier to start plants on a moss pole in an environment that has a lot of humidity, because for one, the moss pole stays really moist for really long. Like, I haven't had to water any of the moss poles in there. I think it's maybe been over a month. And for the ones outside of the greenhouse box, I literally have to water those like every 2 days. So, sorry, my cat. I'm gonna let y'all get one last good look at her so you can see just how beautiful she really is. I'm so proud of her. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next plant. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at my philodendron squamiferum, or squamiferum, however you say that. But she is just a little baby, and if y'all didn't know, she actually used to be way bigger. But I did end up chopping her up a couple videos back, and ever since I did that, she actually put out 2 new growth points for me. And as y'all can see, one of them is about to put out a new leaf. So I'm super excited to see it. And so far, all of the cuttings that I've taken from her are doing really well. Actually, one did die because it rotted, but all the other ones are doing pretty good so far. hopefully. And if you didn't know about this philodendron, I think they're popular because of their fuzzy petioles that they get, but honestly, there's tons of philodendron that get fuzzy petioles, so I know this isn't the only one that people love, but I'm super excited to see how she's going to climb up this moss pole. Even the moss on top looks like it's starting to come back to life, which is really cool. She is already rooted into the moss pole, as y'all can see. She has a white little fuzzy root sticking out, and it's actually coming from an aerial root that I wrapped all the way around back here that ended up attaching to the moss pole right back here. I honestly don't have too much to update y'all on this plant since she hasn't fully put out a new leaf or anything, but I of course had to add her in this video because, you know, she's on a moss pole, so wish her luck, y'all, and I'm super excited to show her again once she's really big. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Next up, we have my philodendron silver sword, and she's doing pretty good. I did chop her as well, and she is just now starting to put out some new leaves slash growth points. So on this side, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 new growth points that activated. So hopefully we're gonna have lots of new growth coming from there. And then on the other side, it looks like there are 2 new growth points that have formed. So I'm super excited to see those grow in as well. I think this one's about to put out a leaf right here. I'm not entirely sure if she's attached to the moss pole yet, but it looks like she has. Honestly, it's just like a mess of roots at the base, if y'all can't already see that. Which was one of the main reasons I decided to start training her up a moss pole, because before that, her roots were literally going crazy and begging for something to climb up. And hopefully she started giving me some bigger leaves, because she's always been growing in the greenhouse box, but she was only giving me like these little leaves right here. And I haven't reached a leaf this size yet, and this is actually from the original cutting, so that's why this is even on the plant. But just like with my camposportoanum, she's probably gonna end up outgrowing the greenhouse box pretty soon, but for now, she's chilling in there, and she seems to be having a pretty good time. So hopefully we keep that same energy. I actually got the cuttings for this plant the same time as I got my burle Marx cuttings. Hopefully she will be as big as my burle Marx someday. But anyways, we're gonna move on to the last plant of this video. Alright, so last up is my philodendron burle Marx fantasy, and honestly, she's probably the smallest one on this list, but she is still just so beautiful. Like, look at those leaves, y'all. But yeah, this is another one of those plants that I was just really needing to get up on a moss pole, so as y'all can see, I finally did that, and this one's actually more of like a moss wall because I don't know, I just felt like doing that, but I'll probably move her to a moss pole once she's a little bit bigger. But yeah, I'm super excited to have her climbing up something now, because before that, she was still growing a lot, but the leaves were getting small, and she is already rooting into it. I don't know if y'all are gonna be able to see, probably not, but I'll put a close-up for y'all, and she even has a new leaf coming in right here. So I'm just super excited for how this plant is gonna grow. If y'all didn't know, these philodendron kind of shingle, so I'm excited to see what that's gonna look like as it climbs up the moss wall. I've actually had this plant for quite some time, but I've just been taking cuttings from it. I hope now she is just gonna take off, because I think I'm probably done taking cuttings from her for now. I have a bunch of babies that I'm growing, so I'll probably just be able to take some cuttings from those ones, but I hope you guys are excited for her future as much as I am, and I'll definitely make sure to update you guys on all of these plants once they start maturing more, up the moss poles and everything. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like. You can also leave me a comment about which plants you have growing up moss poles. But I had a really fun time hanging out with you guys today. And if you didn't know, I'd be uploading plant content here every Wednesday and Friday. So if you'd be looking for that, I got you. And you should definitely check out my other videos. And if you already have, why not click that subscribe button down there? I also have a planty TikTok, so if that's something you're into, I'll make sure to leave the username down in the description. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Bye!